They say the things we own end up owning us. For Raj, a middle-class man who had finally saved enough to buy his first car, it wasn't just ownership, it was a ticket to freedom. But sometimes what we acquire comes with baggage we can't see, and the price isn't always what we pay in cash. Raj's new car held secrets, dark ones. This wasn't just a machine. It was a doorway to something far more sinister. As the engine roared to life, so did something else, as something hungry. Raj had always dreamed of owning a car. It wasn't about luxury. It was about convenience, the ability to move freely without the constraints of public transport. After years of saving, he found what seemed like the perfect deal, a slightly used sedan sold by an older man who claimed he was too old to drive anymore. The car was immaculate, with a polished exterior and a well-maintained interior. The price was surprisingly low, but the seller assured Raj it was simply because he wanted to get rid of it quickly. The man's eyes held a sadness, a kind of deep regret that Raj dismissed as the natural reluctance of parting with something cherished. The first few days with the car were smooth. Raj reveled in the newfound freedom, the ease of driving to work, picking up groceries, and taking weekend trips to nearby towns. But then strange things started happening. It began with the radio. Despite turning it off, it would flicker to life at random moments, playing static or eerie old songs that Raj had never heard before. One night, as he drove home late from work, the static transformed into a faint whisper, like a voice trying to break through. Raj shook his head, blaming fatigue. Then there were the dreams, dark, twisted visions of a woman screaming, trapped in a car. Raj would wake up drenched in sweat, the sound of her screams echoing in his ears. He tried to brush it off, but the unease grew. One evening, while cleaning the car, Raj found something unusual in the trunk, a faded photograph of a young woman, her face partially burned. Behind her stood the same car, looking brand new. The realization hit him like a punch. This was no coincidence. Raj decided to investigate. He returned to the address where he bought the car, but the house was empty, abandoned. Neighbors said the old man had moved away years ago after a terrible tragedy. Raj's heart raced as he realized the man he had met might not have been alive at all. Desperate for answers, Raj visited the local library and searched through old newspapers. He found an article about a young woman, Dame Meera, who had died in a car accident years ago inside the very car Raj had bought. The article mentioned how the brakes had failed, leading to the crash. But what chilled Raj to the bone was the note found with the body, a message scrawled in blood. "He won't let me go." Raj was paralyzed with fear. The car, it seemed, was cursed, haunted by the spirit of Meera, or perhaps something even darker. But what could he do? He had no means to buy another car, and selling this one seemed impossible without disclosing the truth. The hauntings escalated. Raj started seeing Meera in the rearview mirror, her burnt face staring back at him, her eyes full of anger and despair. The car would lock itself while he was inside, the air growing suffocatingly thick, as if trying to choke him. The whispers grew louder, clearer pleas for help, threats, promises of torment. Raj was losing his mind. He tried everything, cleansing rituals, priests, but nothing worked. The car's grip on him tightened with each passing day, as if it was feeding on his fear, his sanity. Finally, he decided to confront the entity. He drove to the site of the accident, hoping to find some closure, some way to appease the restless spirit. As he reached the spot, the car suddenly stopped. The engine died, and no amount of turning the key could revive it. Raj felt a cold presence beside him. He turned, and there she was, Mira, sitting in the passenger seat, her eyes filled with tears. "Help me," she whispered, her voice trembling with sorrow and rage. Raj's heart ached with sympathy, but he knew this wasn't just about helping her. It was about surviving. "How?" he asked, his voice barely audible. She pointed to the glove compartment. With trembling hands, Raj opened it and found a letter, old and yellowed with time. It was a confession from the car's original owner, a man who had caused the accident that killed Mira in a fit of jealous rage. He had tampered with the brakes after she tried to leave him. Tears streamed down Raj's face as he read the words. The man had been too consumed by guilt to live, but too afraid to face the consequences. So he had sealed his soul with the car, forever binding Mira to the wreckage of her last moments. Raj knew what he had to do. He drove the car to the nearest police station and handed over the letter. He explained the history of the car, its dark past, and the curse that came with it. The police were skeptical, but the evidence was undeniable. Raj walked away from the station, leaving the car behind, feeling a strange sense of relief. As he looked back, he saw Mira standing by the car, her face no longer twisted in anger, but peaceful. She nodded at him, a silent thank you, before fading away. Raj never bought another car. He learned to find freedom in other ways, ways that didn't come with chains or curses. The car, he heard, was dismantled, its parts sold off, hopefully never to be assembled again. But every now and then, when Raj walks down a quiet street, he swears he can hear the faint sound of an engine starting and a whisper that chills him to the core.